I was an agent of violence and death, all assumingly under God's blessing. And what made my life more valuable than the life of any Iraqi? You know, I remember being in services like that where I was prayed over and praised countless times in the church for my service. They even had a little picture when you walk in the hospitality, you know, the bulletin board, they had a little picture of me in my uniform. And I loved it. Of course I wanted God's protection and guidance over there. I wanted to deploy to Iraq. And I was in the route of doing that. And I really thought at one time that there was an opportunity to help the people over there. But how can you help someone through the barrel of a gun? I had a really unique opportunity in college to do some traveling in the Middle East while still attached to my Army unit. I did an internship in Cairo, Egypt. I lived with a Muslim family and studied Arabic, and then I also got to travel to Pakistan and Syria. So I was exposed to a wide variety of culture over there. And my short time in the Middle East, I met the most peaceful people I have ever met, living at more peace than I've experienced than people I've met in the church, especially the church that I came from. I remember my mentor in Egypt, Safa, he told me after there was a bombing of a resort. We were staying really close to this resort in the Sinai, and it shook us up after it happened. And he looked at me and he said, "Everyone is killing in the name of God. You Christians in Christian America kill in the name of God. My people, the Muslims, kill in the name of God. What is that saying about our God?" So I decided that I could no longer be a slave to two masters. My arms grew tired from carrying both the cross and the sword. But my allegiance to God and humanity, it is greater than my allegiance to country. And when my allegiance to this country jeopardizes my faith and allegiance to God, then it is my duty to resist that force. Just as Peter and the apostles said to the high priest of the Sanhedrin, we must obey God rather than man. And the force or the puppet that I had to resist, it was the military-industrial complex that I had allowed myself to be enslaved by. The real turning point was at a weapons task training where I had to requalify, and I noticed that my hands started to shake, and I couldn't even get a clear sight picture to center the weapon because the target started to blur, and in it I saw the face of an Iraqi, and I thought, what would it be like to have to take the life of someone in order to defend myself? To take that divine spark of life that God places in every human being, to have to take that, to distinguish it in order to defend myself or someone else from my unit. That would be on my hands. The death of a casualty of war that I see absolutely no justification for. I studied the principles of the just war theory at the request of the professors in my Bible college, and I found no justification for the war in Iraq and for the reason to take people's lives over there. My command sergeant major, who claimed to be a devout Christian, he tried to convince me when I went into his office to say, you know, I'm having these feelings about maybe I want to get out of the military. I don't know if I could do this. He tried to convince me that it was God's will for the Muslims in Iraq to either come to know God or to face the sword for their refusal of truth. I felt conflicted with literally every single person of faith that was in my life, so I was forced to turn to the only person of faith that I knew I could trust. Jesus said, no greater love is this than if you would lay down your life for another. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. I decided to seek an honorable discharge out of the military as a conscientious objector to war. That was in July of 2007. And I was ostracized for this radical decision by obviously members of my military unit, mentors, and friends that I considered brothers and sisters in Christ, and that is probably what hurt the most, as well as members of my family who were extremely proud of my service to country. But none of that mattered, because in the end, I made a decision for my faith, a painfully difficult decision, and I truly believe that it saved my life, and more than likely the life of an Iraqi.